Katie Hopkins just went full-on verbal wrecking ball on Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves, and wow, it's like watching a political car crash in slow motion. You can't look away. Who knew politics could get this savage? Will Starmer survive the roast? Is Reeves ready for the clapback spoiler? Nope. Stick around, because this showdown is about to break the internet and your ribs from laughing. Let's dive in. If politics were a reality show, Katie Hopkins just stormed onto the set swinging a wrecking ball, and the targets were Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves. Labour thought they were running a tight ship, but Katie arrived like a surprise hurricane, tossing the whole crew overboard. And this wasn't your usual polite sparring. No, it was a full-on, no-holds-barred demolition, and afterwards, let's just say there was a crater where credibility used to live. First, let's talk about Keir Starmer, the man who somehow always looks like he's trapped in a never-ending Zoom meeting that really should have been an email. Starmer's leadership. Basically, a lukewarm cup of tea. There's effort, sure, but zero excitement, zero punch. Katie stared at his polished corporate look and basically asked, who approved this blandness? Leading a party isn't about memorising law books or defending parking tickets, it's about connecting, inspiring. And newsflash, actually sounding like you want to win. Instead, Starmer's been wobbling between cautious pragmatism and vague promises, which Katie shredded like a pro-imaginer feeding an embarrassing high school diary into an industrial shredder, live on TV while laughing. He's trying so hard not to offend anyone that he's inspired absolutely no one. His idea of bold leadership. Political beige, safe, neutral, instantly forgettable. If charisma were money, Starmer would be bankrupt and begging the bank of boredom for a bailout. She gleefully pointed out that under Starmer's reign of relentless mediocrity, Labour's poll numbers have done exactly what you'd expect if you left a helium balloon in a room full of toddlers with forks deflating at a gloriously almost artistic rate. It's performance art in how not to energise your base. For a man who promised to rebuild trust and spark hope, his delivery has had all the emotional punch of an annual budget spreadsheet, neat, tidy, and completely sleep-inducing. That steady-hand image Labour PR keeps flogging. It doesn't scream calm and competent, it screams, I'm reading the manual for steering a ship every 5 seconds. Katie didn't just poke holes in that story, she set it on fire, tap danced around the flames, and mailed the ashes to anyone who still thinks safe and steady wins elections in 2025. The iceberg of voter apathy is real, and Starmer's Titanic is full speed ahead, guided by a man who thinks blinking twice in a press conference counts as excitement. Labour's enthusiasm gap. It's basically the size of the Grand Canyon without the scenic views. The grassroots energy that once filled rallies and packed halls is now polite nods and a handful of weary retweets. The base is exhausted, the middle is sceptical, and swing voters. They've probably wandered off to see what the Lib Dems are doing. Yeah, it's that bad. Katie's take. Starmer's leadership is about as thrilling as watching paint dry in Parliament, while the paint lectures you on fiscal responsibility and the importance of regulatory oversight. No fire, no fight, just a monotonous drone that makes people want to switch channels, switch leaders, and increasingly, switch parties. He could give a speech about revolution and still sound like he's reading IKEA instructions for a bookshelf. Labour desperately needs a leader who can rally the troops, energise voters, someone with guts, vision or at least a pulse. Instead, they've got Keir, an accountant trapped in a lawyer's body, trying to cosplay as a prime minister. According to Katie, that's not just uninspiring, it's electoral malpractice. Then came the economic hit. Rachel Reeves, Labour's shadow chancellor, has been trying to sell the public on her magic formula to fix the economy. Spoiler, Katie wasn't buying it. She shredded Reeves's plans as a dizzying mix of jargon and wishful thinking that would make even the most optimistic financial advisor cringe. These so-called solutions look like they were drafted during a very long coffee break, with lots of buzzwords and zero substance. Katie didn't hold back on Reeves either. She mocked her ability to inspire confidence, joking that the public might have an easier time understanding cryptocurrency mining than Labour's economic strategy. Yeah, it's bad when people are more confused by your budget plans than their TV remote Labour's attempt to look competent on the economy under Reeves. It came off like a clumsy rehearsal for a play nobody wanted to see. But Katie didn't stop at the policies. She painted Reeves as so out of touch that her economic plans might as well be written in a secret code, understood only by accountants and hedge fund managers. If economic charisma had a meter, Reeves would be in negative digits. This verbal smackdown wasn't just roasting individuals, it was a brutal indictment of Labour's direction under these two. Katie made it clear, their cautious, uninspired approach isn't just boring, it's hurting the party. The public isn't just craving change, they're starving for authenticity and boldness. And right now, Labour's menu reads like bland, reheated leftovers. The reaction. Predictable. Katie's fiery commentary lit up social media faster than a Christmas tree in a lightning storm. Some cheered her for speaking the brutally honest truth. Others dismissed her as the eternal political provocateur. Either way, the message was crystal clear. Labour's top brass needs a reality check. Meanwhile, Starmer and Reeves stayed silent, letting Katie's words echo unchallenged. No rebuttals, no clarifications, just the awkward sound of political crickets. It was like watching a boxer take punch after punch without throwing a single jab back, hoping the round would end. This wasn't just a political roast, it was a spotlight on Labour's leadership crisis. It showed how a lack of vision and dynamic leadership can turn a party's promise into a punchline. Love her or hate her, Katie reminded everyone that sometimes the harshest truths come wrapped in the sharpest barbs. The takeaway. Politics is about winning hearts and minds, and right now, Starmer and Reeves are losing both. Katie didn't just rip into their personas, she highlighted the very real challenge Labour faces in convincing the public they have what it takes to lead. And let's be honest, if your political opponents are knocking on your door with a wrecking ball, maybe it's time to rethink your strategy. Because in 2025, voters want bold, confident leadership, not the political equivalent of a snooze button. The Katie Quake wasn't just a one-woman show. It set off tremors from Westminster all the way to the last Wi-Fi router on Twitter. Within minutes of her verbal carpet bombing, the internet did what it does best, explode into a high-speed, high-drama food fight. Katie supporters were practically building statues of her out of angry newspaper clippings. Finally, someone said it. They cheered, as if she cracked the Da Vinci Code of British politics while swinging sarcasm like a chainsaw. In one corner, you had Hopkins enthusiasts sipping lukewarm coffee, nodding at their screens, praising her for cutting through the noise like a political Marie Kondo decluttering. Labour's nonsense with blunt force trauma. To them, Katie wasn't cruel, she was clarifying, a meteor of truth crashing into the soft, buttery terrain of Labour's delusion. Then there were the critics. Oh, the critics. Keyboard warriors and political pundits descended like seagulls on chips. She was called unhinged, unnecessary, unhelpful. And those were the polite ones. Even they couldn't deny she touched a nerve. The kind of nerve that jolts even the most sedated focus group awake whispering, "Wait, is she right?" The media split down the middle like a stale custard tart. Right-wing outlets licked their lips, spinning her tirade into a headline bonanza. Left-leaning pundits rolled their eyes so hard they almost saw their own spines. Some tried to ignore her, hoping the storm would pass. Spoiler? It didn't. It was a Category 5 political roast, and once the flames were lit, there was no putting them out, not even with every soggy policy pamphlet in Labour HQ combined. As for Starmer and Reeves, let's just say the silence wasn't golden. It was damp beige. No replies, no statements, not even the classic vague political weather forecast style response. Labour HQ went into full lockdown, probably trying to decide if acknowledging Katie would dignify her or validate every word. Their strategy: pretend nothing happened and hope everyone forgets. Basically, hide behind the curtain and pray the burglars leave. Insiders within Labour. Oh, they talked, but only in those hushed tones usually reserved for family scandals or dodgy office buffet chicken. Some called for stronger messaging. Others suggested reconnecting with the base. Translation: they're panicking harder than a minister who just saw their old tweets resurface. But this wasn't just about hurt feelings or media squabbles. It was a microcosm of a much bigger problem, the festering identity crisis plaguing Labour like a bad rash. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Katie's brutal commentary resonated because there's a vacuum where leadership should be. The public isn't stupid. They know when they're being sold reheated slogans in shiny packaging. Hopkins didn't invent the criticism. She just amplified what everyone was already whispering in pubs, break rooms, and passive-aggressive WhatsApp chats. That's the bigger picture. This wasn't just one woman tearing into two politicians, it was a symptom of a deeper problem in British politics. A lack of vision, a crisis of authenticity, a leadership void the size of the Millennium Dome. Love her or hate her, Katie gets one thing. In today's political landscape, being technically right doesn't matter as much as being loudly convincing. And loud, she's convincing because she connects with voters who feel completely ignored. In a country fed up with polished speeches and sterilised statements, sometimes it takes a political Molotov cocktail to get attention. Labour. They're still wondering if PowerPoint slides will inspire the nation. Spoiler, they won't. If Starmer and Reeves don't figure that out fast, they risk being steamrolled not just by political opponents, but by the very people they claim to represent. The public is tired of lectures, they want leadership. So here's the million-dollar question. In a world where raw, unapologetic rhetoric shapes opinion faster than any manifesto, who really wins? The safe players or the loud ones? And if Katie's wrecking ball just shook Labour to its foundations, who's going to rebuild it? Or better yet, can anyone rebuild it? In the end, Katie's savage takedown was more than entertainment. It was a wake-up call. Whether Labour listens or keeps stumbling along in this uninspired way remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. The next election won't be kind to leaders who fail to inspire. As the dust settles on this verbal battlefield, Labour faces some serious questions. How do you win back trust when your leaders seem content to play it safe? Can Starmer and Reeves pivot from polite politicking to passionate leadership? Or will Katie's words be remembered as the moment the public finally saw through the political curtain? Either way, one thing is undeniable. Katie Hopkins didn't just throw shade, she unleashed a full-on political hurricane, and Starmer and Reeves are still trying to find shelter.